My next guest trains out of one of my favorite gyms in the entire country. He is a 170-pound welterweight prospect, and he hails from Panama. I am talking to Jacob the Tyga Guerrero. Jacob, how are you doing on this lovely morning?
Hey, my man. Good, good. How are you, man? I'm very, very excited to be part of your show.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and I'm also excited about tonight. We got a huge fight. Colby Covington against Jorge Masvidal. You're the fighter. You tell me, who do you like in this bout and why?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a very it's a very interesting matchup about the fact that Colby doesn't have the hands that Masvidal have,
Mm-hmm.
but he's an amazing wrestler, and the
He
pressure
is.
that Colby brings is just out of this world. I wouldn't count Masvidal out, but I think that Colby is gonna take it. Colby's gonna take the win. I think his pressure and his wrestling are gonna make the difference. But never count Masvidal out. I thought that Askren was gonna toy
Mm-hmm.
Masvidal, and
That
everything
didn't.
changed.
That didn't happen. So there you go. If you haven't, if you're watching this, the fight will have already have occurred. And feel free to make fun of Jacob if he was wrong on this one. So, but on a serious note, I have to ask. You have a very unusual story, and when I was doing my homework on you and just kind of learning more about you in preparation for the show, I know that you're from Panama originally, and you fought down there for a number of years. And when I think of Panama, when I think of that whole part of the world, I don't think of MMA. I think of boxing primarily. Some of and baseball. And I have to know, like, what is the MMA scene like down in Panama? Like, how are the fans? I'm always really curious to know, like, what it's like from people that have fought in places like Mexico, that have fought in places like Panama, because it's very, very different. I don't think MMA is, I think it's definitely evolving down there, but I want to get your perspective on what it's like.
Oh, definitely MMA in Panama it's a very small country. It's like 4 million people. Everybody's very supportive. People go to the events and support the local fighters. I think that people underestimate the level of Panama and MMA because, of course, you think of Panama, you think about boxing, you think about baseball, you think about the Panama Canal, you think about so many things, but you don't think about MMA. But people over there are really, really, really good. I have trained with and fought against people that their level is just one of my first loss that I had was against a guy Javier Barter. That guy is an animal.
Mm-hmm.
I had the better hands when we were fighting, and we knew that he was coming with an armbar, and we prepared the whole camp to defend that armbar, and he just had a random switch on the floor that I just did not see coming. And that day I realized, like, wow, I have a lot to learn. And this guy was way ahead of me when it comes to jiu-jitsu. So I learned a lot that night. I learned a lot that because at that moment I was feeling invincible. I was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking fights at 10 days notice at 185. I don't care. I fight at 170 or 185. I really don't care. But no, that guy was actually really, really, really good. And I was coming from 26-second knockout. It was just one kick in the biggest arena of the country, which is the arena Roberto Duran. I kicked the guy once and broke his two floating ribs, and that was it. Like, it was just
Wow.
one kick. That's it. And everybody, there's a lot of talent over there. It's just, the matter the fact that we work with dollars over there, but people don't make as much to make a living over there because minimum salary over there is around 600. That's what you average, that you make on average, 600, 700, 800.
Mm-hmm.
And rent is like 1,000, 1,200, something like that. Is just it's just like it's really hard to really make a living out of MMA in Panama. That's one of the main reasons why I left. But the talent is there, man.
I would also offer that it's probably difficult to make a living in MMA if you're not in America anywhere. Whether you're in England, whether you're in Asia, Panama, it doesn't like one of the interesting things. Brandon Moreno just moved his camp from Tijuana to Glory MMA in Kansas City with James Krause. He'd been there for a very, very long time. Who knows what the reasons were exactly for that, but I found it interesting that he changed camps. He's spending a lot more time stateside. You have Dan Hooker all the way in New Zealand. He's talking about moving to Vegas too, just because it's very, very difficult to train abroad. So I wanted to ask you, like, what prompted you to relocate from Panama to the States? Was it because of family reasons? Was it because of your fighting career? How did you? What motivated you to come to the country?
Well, when I came here, it was I always I didn't even have a flying ticket at the moment when I was telling my coach, hey, I'm gonna go. I have a friend that's over there. I'm gonna save some money. I have a friend that's over there in Florida, and he's telling me like, hey, come here to Hard Knocks. They're gonna take care of you. And I was like, well, all right, perfect. So I started I started working at a bank and trying to make as much money as I could. I was living with my mom, so I really didn't have to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
And I had in my mind that I wanted to be here because this is the land of the pay-per-view. This is the land of where people can make money, money to save, money to buy a pay-per-view, money to buy the drinks, and to money, like people do really good here. Like people do like 45 a year, 50, 100 a year, and like that's some type of money that you really don't see in countries like mine.
Right.
So I was like, hey, if I can, once I get there, I know I'm on the safe side. So I know I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna find something, but I want to be on that side. So just like that, it happened. I moved. I paid like 3 or 4 months in advance in the gym. I know I'm still, I was living with my mom. So I was like, didn't have too much control of the money that I was spending, but I was like, you know what, if I spend this money, then I'll have no training.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a lot of rough experiences, man, because I was living in Florida and I didn't know what anything was. I was like, okay, it's cheap over here. And I was like in Pompano Beach, that's like a really rough neighborhood. I had no clue about it. I remember I went to sleep and like it was like 5 of us in a room and they were like smoking crack in the room. It was horrible. It was horrible. You can hear gunshots out in the middle of the night. Like it was rough. But in time I understood that on those big gyms they really pay more attention to the big stars. Like I get it as a businessman, but as a trainer, like you want your whole team to escalate. But
it's a cautionary tale about those big gyms, and you're not the first person to tell me that. I had another guy on. I'll keep his name out of it. He trained similarly to you. He was training in Florida, and he got with a gym, and they wanted him. They're like, "Yep, we'll pay for all your training. We got that covered." But then the fine print, they tell you like, "Yo, when you go pro, this is what we're going to take." And it wasn't the percentage that bothered him, but what did bother him was like they flat out tell you like these are the type of hotels you need to book for your coaches. Like each of your coaches gets their own room, and you're not booking us in like no budget in. Like we're going to like it's very, very specific. And he looked at that and he was like, nah, like I'm not doing that. And I got really mad at him, but he was like, I'm not going to sign something I'm not comfortable with. And he wasn't comfortable with that. And the other thing that I've noticed, he didn't explicitly tell me this, but just in talking to a lot of guys that train in big gyms, it's like there's an A side and a B side. And if you're on the B side, basically you're there to be a body for the guy that has the big Bellator fight, the guy that has the big UFC fight, and you may not get as much work in. And is that something you experienced when you were down there?
Yeah, a lot. When I got there on my as every other team that I get there, I don't know why, but I always find a way to get there on sparring day. And it's not that I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get here, I'm gonna try to meet the guys, trying to. No, we're getting there. We're beating the shit out of each other, and I'm like, fuck, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to, grab a little or strike a little, but no, we're going straight to business. All right, so I got there, and the first guy that I sparred was the welterweight champion, Kamaru Usman. I sparred with him, and he was still not like, how can I say, he was still not even close to be a champion. He was not even top 10 when I met him. He was the ultimate fighter, but he was still not not even the top 10 in the UFC. But I sparred guys like Adam Borics. I sparred Sean Soriano. I'm gonna tell you something. People underestimate Sean Soriano because of his UFC fights. Sean Soriano, I'm going to tell you something. He's one of the toughest. And if there's someone that I felt when at that point of my life that I felt, okay, I have no business with this guy, is Sean Soriano. Wow. Sean Soriano was killing. Luke Rockhold was killing. Jason Jackson was killing everyone in the gym.
Wow. You know what's interesting, Jacob? What's interesting, you mentioned Usman. So he's in Colorado now. He trains out of Elevation. I know a guy that has sparred with him many different times. He's a boxer, a professional. He's just kind of getting started, but he's a boxer. And he's just like, dude, I spar with Kamaru Usman. I have never been hit so hard. He sparred with Gaethje too. And he's like, dude, I'm telling you, the person who has hit me the hardest is Kamaru Usman. That guy hurts. It hurts to spar that guy. Like, he hurts. Every single one of his punches hurt. And I'm just like, God damn. Like, and he's like, dude, I could take a punch. Like, I've been in tons of boxing bouts. Like, I just thought it was interesting. Like, he told me, he's like, dude, everyone clowns on him and says he's a wrestler and he's not a good striker. That guy hurts, man.
I have a very defensive style of striking. I put the pressure, but I am a counter puncher. I try to force the mistake on you and capitalize it. But yeah, every time that he didn't hit me that many times, but the times that he caught me, I was like, fuck, like I was doing like a broken TV. Like, I was like, okay, wow, this guy hits hard.
He was telling me, we chatted a little bit after the rematch with him and Covington. He's like, dude, the fact that Kobe took some of those shots blows me away. He's like, I know how hard that guy hits. And he's just like, the fact that he was not unconscious, that guy's got a chin, man. And he's like, you wouldn't know that unless you're in there with him and you know what it feels like to be hit by him.
Have you ever felt the UFC gloves?
No.
The UFC gloves.
I know they're very, very thin. They're 4 ounces. There's nothing there.
They feel like wood. They feel like wood. Like,
wow.
That's how they feel. That's so crazy. That's,
yeah.
When I tried them for the first time, I was like, wow. No wonder they use Vaseline.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could tell you what, I look at those little things and I'm just like, I wouldn't want to get hit by that. I just a boxing glove, like the 10-ounce gloves. I don't want to get hit with that. Fuck that. That would hurt. Like, no, you're talking about MMA gloves. That's a totally different beast.
Yep.
And you're bringing up a few different things. Like, this is why I love talking to fighters so much, is because I think me as a fan and all of the other people like me who are just big fight nerds, right? Like, we love MMA. We love watching the game. But there's so many things about the game that you're just not going to know about unless you're an athlete, unless you're a fighter, unless you compete. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Like, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about being a fighter that fans have that you wish people would know?
Taking a punch. Taking a punch is the easy part. I'll take a punch. I listen. I grew up in Latin America. There was no, I'm gonna call the cops on you for fighting me. There was none of that.
Mhm.
And if you call the cops on someone because of a fight, you're probably just gonna sleep the night at the police station, and then you're gonna get out the next day at 6 a.m.
Right.
It happened to me plenty of times.
Mhm.
So I'm not worried about getting punched in the face, barehanded with 10 ounces, 16 ounces. That doesn't worry me. What annoys me is cutting weight. What annoys me is the diet. That's the annoying part of being a fighter. The fact that like you literally have to quit on everything.
Mhm.
And once you quit on everything, and you're 100% disciplined to get to that stage, and anything can change. Just like the Yair Rodriguez versus the Korean zombie.
Mhm.
He lost every single round. He went down, lifted his elbow, knocked him out cold.
Right.
All that sacrifice, all that, it was rough. I think that, and the fact that I think the fighters deserve more money.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why
yeah.
I
I
am
completely
not.
agree.
I'm not gonna tell you that I am a fan of Jake Paul's boxing skills, but I'm gonna tell you that I am a fan of what he's trying to do for the fighters. I love that, because the fact that you are offering less than, and the minimum that small promotion should give to a fighter is at least a minimum of that's your first fight, your debut, you should get at least $3,000. That covers at least the camp on a minimum.
Or a good part of it anyway.
Good part of it,
Right.
but
Because like I think what people don't understand, and this is just I'm paraphrasing from the 100+ fighters I've had on, like every single fight that these guys have, whether it's on amateur level or whether it's a professional level, there's an investment of several $1,000s that goes into every single bout. And depending on the purse, that might cover the food that you've consumed while you've been undergoing your preparations, but that's about it. Like all the time, all the sacrifice, like eating healthy, it's expensive. It's not cheap to do. There are gym fees, taxes, all these things that are going on, and that purse is gone. It's out the door. It's already spent before you even stepped in the ring.
your medicals, your
Blood work, yeah, yep.
eating organic. In my house, everything we eat is organic. Training gear, anything that you need for your taxes at the end of the year. Like, there's so much that you have to do in order to get to a fight. That's why you see people celebrating, and they're like, well, but who did he beat? No, it's not who he beat. Is the journey to get to that to that fight. But some people will not understand that unless they live it. Right?
Yeah. I think that's one of the other things, is just the amount of like sacrifice. So when you're doing this and when you're getting ready for a camp and when you're training, it's like, oh, I got wrestling on Tuesdays. Oh, on this day I have jujitsu. Oh, I have striking on this day. Oh, this is my rest day. My rest day I go run 6 miles. It's like there's all these like things that are happening behind the scenes, and none of us see that. Like we don't see 99% of what it is that you do. We only see you for 9 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever the case may be. And it's just always fascinating to me. I think that's where, to your point, where a lot of those emotions come from, because that grind I just mentioned, okay, imagine that, but for 8 weeks. And now you get to fight some guy for 9 minutes for free.
Matt, yeah. Plus, think about it this way. I was saving this for the end of the interview, but I feel like it needs to be said and needs to be talked about. I was gonna fight. I was having a fight for CFFC in April 15 in Atlantic City with one of the guys that you interviewed a couple of days ago. We're gonna tell you something. The only thing stupid about that guy is his face. Eric Nolan, I was gonna fight him, and he backed out because he says I had too much experience, or I had too many fights, or the fights that I have were pro in my country. I've never fought in America before. I've never fought in America. It's just about the fact that fighters fight, right? I've taken fights on. I took a fight on 10 days notice with a guy named Dalton Rosta in Bellator. I was gonna take it. I was gonna fight him. I knew I was gonna outstrike Dalton. I knew it, and to this day, I believe I will outstrike Dalton. Just the same way I believe that I was gonna outstrike Eric, and he was not gonna be able to take me down. There's no way he was gonna take me down with that wrestling of his. But he's a smart boy. He's a smart boy. He knew that what was gonna happen. But why 2 weeks later, after he and his teammates have been watching my stories, like, what are you scared of? Like, why do you want to fight guys that are like debuting, or like 0-1, or like 0-2, guys that are simply just have no business in there with you? Why don't you like to test yourself? I test myself at 185. I test myself with a guy that was a jiu-jitsu black belt on my third MMA fight. So doing things like that tell me that you're really not about this life. You wanna have a cute record of 5-0, 7-0, and then what's gonna happen when you get to a contender series, when there's an animal that really worked his ass off to get into in there.
The other I would offer, well, I guess I don't know what his setup is. I don't know how it works at his gym, but I also know that there are some fighters that don't even pick their own fights. Their coach does all that. Whether he picks his own fights or not, I don't know. I have no idea.
It was my management sent me his name, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for days I realized that he was looking at my stories, and like he was very like engaged on my profile. But I mean, I don't blame him. If I'm sparring with guys like Shane Burgos, if I was the main training partner of Solomon, if I'm like, Tiger Schulmann is not a like, their striking and their jiu-jitsu is extremely high level.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely.
The fact that he said yes and then said no, because I have screenshots where if I was a go. But the fact that you said yes and then you're like, no. On second thought, come on, like, this is some serious stuff. Don't get me trying to get my blood work and everything set up for a fight, and then you're just gonna back out because you're scared. That's just not the way you do it. Like, just take your time.
Have there been other fights that have fallen through for you?
Yeah, Dalton Rosta, that fight fall through. Again, we live in an era where everybody's trying to protect their records, and everybody's like, okay, I am gonna fight with this guy that has no fights, or this guy that's 2-6, or this guy that.
I will say Bellator's notorious for that. They are very, very protective of their fighters. So this is, and I say this as a huge Bellator fan. I love Bellator. I do. I love watching the fights, and I like the vibe of Bellator. I do. I think it's awesome. But there's an A side to Bellator and a B side. They protect their fighters, and if you are a ranked person in Bellator, you're one of their fighters. If you're not ranked and you're in Bellator, there are some exceptions, like Valerie Laredo is one of them, but by and large, if you are not a ranked fighter in Bellator, you're B-side. You're B-side, basically. And I one of the biggest complaints I have about Bellator is they will bring in these guys for these like random one-off fights that they know will say yes, but I just think I'm not a fan of bringing a guy off the street and be like, hey, you're going to fight our number 3 ranked guy. Like, it's like, I'm not a fan of that. Like, you're bringing in some kid. from the regional scene who's never fought at that level before, and you're not going to put him up against somebody who has somewhere around his experience. Don't feed him to the wolves like that. But Bellator does that, man. Like they put guys through the wood chipper.
But think about it this way: they give you a 10 days, 2 week notice. That like, hey, you're gonna fight this guy. Here's $3,000. Here's 3,000 plus 3,000. If you win, you get $6,000, and then you're like, wow, I'm a little behind rent. Yo, those $6,000 sounds good. Yeah, sign me up. Then you see the difference in their body shapes. You see the difference that guy Dalton Russell looked like a bodybuilder, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's little cousin, and you see the other guy that truly does not look like he has ever done abdominals in his life, and you see in there that probably the guy has decent boxing, but this guy, like, they have him already, and I don't want to say that anybody's juiced up because I don't live with them, but as far as I'm concerned, there's no anti-doping on I think the only one that has USADA is the UFC.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's an interesting point. But yeah, it's just an observation I have just looking at things. I'm just kind of like, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like some of the matchups that I've seen, and they are very, very deliberate about calling up people. They don't give a fuck. They're just like, yo, yeah, we are bringing you in to lose. You're blue corner, man. Like, yeah, we're bringing you in to lose. Like they don't even care. Like they don't even try to tell you otherwise. Hey, it is what it is. It'd be interesting.
And you have to pay for your own medicals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. And I will tell you, I know a guy that was offered to fight Aaron Pico for the same amount of money that you just said, for 3-3. And he's just like, no fucking way. He was just like, I'm not putting my record on the line. I'm not doing that. Not for that money. He's like, I'll fight him, but you're going to have to pay me way fucking more than that. I'm not fighting that guy. I'm not fighting one of the best guys in the world and risking not fighting again for the rest of the year because that guy put me on a freaking suspension, not for 6,000 or not for $3,000. Fuck you.
And as a minimum, like if you're really gonna put me on with a big name, you better give me a big check.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And they were just like, it's 3-3 or no fight. And he's like, well, then I'm not fighting. He's like, then good luck to you. And they pulled some other kid, some other random kid, and Aaron Pico, just freaking crushed him. Yeah, just freaking crushed him. Talk to me a little bit about you particularly, Jacob. Like I look at your fights and I'm trying to get a pulse as to like the type of fighter that you are, and you haven't fought in a couple years. I assume that's because, moving to the States, the pandemic, the scene getting shut down, going pro, trying to find fights falling through. I'm guessing that is probably the reason why you haven't fought for the past few years.
Exactly. It's mostly about that. I you can see it as half full or half empty.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to fight because the pandemic happened, and the only thing that was moving was actually the UFC and a couple of Bellator fights. That's where I was called for the Dalton Russell fight. It's funny because when I got called for that fight, I was in the lineup. I was in the lineup of what's it called? Taco Bell. I was in the line of Taco Bell, and the guy that was getting me fights, he texted me like, "Hey, what do you think about this guy?" So I see this guy. I was like, "Is that a Bellator fighter?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll take him. 185? Yeah, sure, I'll take him." And because I knew I was gonna outstrike him because he has a very basic striking skill and a very like high school level of wrestling, so it's not like something that was scary. Muscles don't win fights, and when you're that muscular, you 3 swings and then you're like
Yeah.
So it really did not intimidate me at all.
Muscles equal oxygen, people.
Yep. So you're gonna need an extra lung for that one. So
Why did that fight fall through?
Because
what happened?
I did a stupid mistake of I made a live video and I started throwing like all my kicks because I am a very dynamic fighter. Like I have kicks that you just won't, like 10 times out of 10 will land. Like I am very, in my country, everybody was saying like, oh, he fights like Sabine Magomed-Sharipov. He fights like Adesanya. He fights like this, fights like that. I have my own style. I grabbed everything that I can from boxers, from kickboxers, from Muay Thai fighters, from MMA fighters, and I create my own style. Mm-hmm. Right. So I started making this video, and so I made a live video of me throwing all my arsenal, everything, and then. The next day the fight got canceled.
So you think somebody saw that? They didn't like that. They didn't like what they saw.
I'm 99% sure because the fight was a go. We both said yes. And then I made the video, and then the next day that the fight got canceled, I was like, that can't be a coincidence. That was stupid.
Who did he end up fighting? Do you know?
No, him?
Yeah.
Some random kid, like, I said that. I said, well, he chose an Uber driver over me. He just fought some random kid that he starched him like in the second round or something like that. He left him in a pool of blood. It was horrible. But I am, like I said, I am a very dynamic fighter. It did hit me hard about the fact that I wasn't being able to fight, but I improved so much ever since my last fight. I've improved so much. I am, I would say, a 300% version, better version of myself. And I was hoping and only in this amount of time, I would say, like maybe in the last 3 weeks, 3 fights have fall through. I was gonna fight this guy named Chris Lee for Art of Scrap in Indiana. He said no. He was one of the Lee brothers of one of the guys that owns a gym over there. He's like a Bang Muay Thai coach. Then they sent his student. His name was Jacob Kindig. He's 2-0 as a pro, which I was like, okay, cool. I said, okay, I'll take him. Then he said no. Then they offered me Eric Nolan, and Eric Nolan says yes. And then I don't know, something happened. He's probably saw something in my stories, or probably he saw my everything. I think Shane posted a story with me, and I think that he said, "Oh shit, I am a fan of this guy, and this guy is promoting this other guy. Hell no, I'm not gonna fight him." So it is what it is. Like I'm not even worried. He's smart for just simply not choosing to fight. I wish him nothing but the best.
And I apologize for our fight falling through. You know, I had that thing. You know, I had that thing. I was busy. You know, nothing personal, man. I just, you know, I hurt my, I hurt my leg, man, and I couldn't do it. But you know, yeah, man, run it through my coach, man. We'll get back to you for sure.
So yeah,
that's definitely got to be frustrating, man. Like getting all these bouts to fall through, that would be frustrating. And I know that you want to make that pro debut really, really badly. And what's kind of interesting to me is like you look at your amateur career, and it was a long time ago. Like you're not the same guy as from before. Like you've been training at some of the best gyms in the country. You've probably gotten beat up by the stars of the UFC, the stars of Bellator, right? And then like you get to Tiger Schulmann. Can you talk a little bit about like, I understand, you know, the dynamic in Florida, but going to Tiger Schulmann's, how is it different for you? Because you still have some big name guys that train there. Like Tiger Schulmann's isn't like this hole in the wall, tiny little gym. Like you're talking about like monsters train there. Yeah, like there's too many to name, but like I'll just say for people who don't know, Burgos, we've already talked about them. Lyman Good, he's with Tiger Schulmann, Solomon Renfro, Mike Trezano, and there's a bunch of other people too. Jimmy Rivera, like that, like yeah, like you're talking about like it's just like insert name of big gym, but like why is it different?
I got to Tiger Schulmann's because I had a friend. I was when I was in Florida and I was trying to switch camps. I had actually this. I was aiming for Nick Catone's. I wasn't aiming for Tiger Schulmann. I didn't know Tiger Schulmann's even existed. I had no clue what it was, and so I reached out to a friend and he told me like, hey, well, I'm training here in Tiger Schulmann's and they're actually taking good care of me. Like, if you're actually serious about moving to New York, yeah, you can just stop by and test your skills, and if you feel comfortable with the gym, just go for it. And I was like, all right, perfect, sounds good. And I was kind of talking with Shane because Shane has always been my favorite fighter. Just who he is as a person and who he is as a fighter, he's always been my favorite fighter. So I told him like, hey, I'm thinking of switching camps to yours, and he was like, man, you're crazy. Don't come to New York in the middle of the winter. You're crazy. Don't come here. And I was like, I don't care, man. I'm just gonna go there. He's like, all right, cool. Just come over whenever you want to come here. And I got there and I thought the treatment was gonna be just like in every other MMA gym. Okay, if you bring X amount of money to the gym, then we'll treat you that way. If you don't, well, you can just hit the bag.
Yeah, gotcha.
Plain simple. So I started going to Tiger Schulmann's, and then I see that I got there and I said everything in advance. I was like, hey, man, I'm an amateur fighter. I'm not a pro yet. No problem. He was like, okay, no problem. And I saw that Ron Schulmann which is the head coach right now, he was going to the amateur fighters, and I was like, oh, probably it's because that's one of his first students or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I see that he goes to all the amateur fighters and all the small pro fights, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's different.
This guy is, yeah, he's really involved into this. And then he was telling me like, hey, you lift your right arm or like lower your chin, or like he was telling me stuff, and I was like, you remember that I'm an amateur. It doesn't matter. And I was like, wow, like he was really invested in his students, and I think that's what made me really fall in love with that gym, because I've never had that before, other than in Panama with my coaches, Vernon Ramos and Kevin Blackman. Vernon Ramos is UFC, it's an Ultimate Fighter veteran, and Kevin Blackman is my first coach. So like they were the ones that were actually paying attention. And when I came here, they were like, hey, they're not going to pay attention that much because that's how the business works over there. Right. But he told me that. But when I go to Tiger Schulmann's, I see that they're like, hey, do you need something? Like they're really on top of you. And I'm like, wow, like it's impressive. Like it's impressive the amount of effort that they really put in their students, and that's what made me fall in love with that gym.
They these definitely seem like a good group. I've had the pleasure of having several of your teammates on this show before, and it just seems like it's a very different vibe. And everyone kind of pulls through. Like everyone talks about, every gym. Like there's never any fighter I've ever talked to. They're like, yeah, everyone I train with, they're fucking assholes. Like, it's every man for himself. No one ever says that. Everyone always says the same things. Like, oh yeah, everyone's cool. We're like a family, blah, blah, blah. But I think where you really start seeing it is like when things aren't going so well. Like you don't really know shit about you, like when things are going well. But like when I think of Tiger Schulmann's, like there's been a lot of adversity there lately. Yeah, I know Shane came back. I know he won after the Barbosa fight. He fought and he won, but there was the Barbosa fight that he dropped. Solomon Renfro, he's dropped 2 in a row. Ryan Burgos can't even find a fight because nobody wants to fight that guy. Shit. And you know what? Sorry, Ryan, but no disrespect, Ryan, but I don't blame him. But like he puts his heart and soul into this, and he's trying to fight. He's trying to level up, and he has no control over. He has no control over whether his opponent shows or doesn't show, and that sucks for him.
Exactly.
You have Mike Trezano. He just fought. He came up short. So it's like everyone, as good as they are, like I feel like you guys are all like, and then you're having problems getting bouts too, just like Ryan. So it's like I'm not going to say like you guys are in a slump, but it just seems like there's been a lot of adversity that's been shining your way at Team Tiger Schulmann's. And I asked Melissa this question. I'm like, what are you guys doing to like, I know you just won, and I know you're getting ready for a fight, but like, what are you doing as a teammate to like pull your guys up? Because that could turn into a really dark place really quick. And she gave me her answer as to what it works. But like from your perspective, everything I just mentioned, like, is there something that you're seeing? What has the gym been like when you guys have been trying to like overcome that adversity as a team?
Well, definitely, we all have the same mentality. If it's snowing, if it's raining, if it's sunny, if it's Christmas, if it's New Year, whatever it is, we are always training. We're always focusing. The opportunity will come. We know that the skill set of every single one of the pro fighters is so elevated that you only need that one fight that's going to change your life forever. And it could be the next fight. It could be, we just keep pushing each other. We just keep like, we're all on top of each other. Like, hey, if you need help with wrestling, let me know. If you need help with striking, let me know. And we're all very supportive with each other, and we're all very like, like, so regardless if the opportunity is coming on next month or in May or in June, we're always try to stay ready. We're always try to stay ready and stay optimistic that the opportunity is going to come. This is a gym that gets a lot of has too much talent. Talent. You see guys like Nick Newell coming here, which, by the way, that guy is impressive.
Oh yeah,
that motherfucker has only one full arm, and he fights, and he is fucking great. Like,
yeah, I know about him. Who doesn't? I mean, that guy's a phenomenal fighter. When I asked that very question to your teammate Melissa Ballack, she told me I specifically asked about Solomon. I was just like, man, this is just me talking. I was just like, yeah, I love Solomon. He's my boy. Like, I love that guy. I love watching him fight. I think he has a very bright future. And as a fan, I'm like crushed for that guy. Like, he works so hard. I want to see him win, and I want good things to happen to good people. Solomon's one of the good guys. And I was really like, I don't know. I was having like a fanboy moment where I was like being like a drama queen, right? I was like really upset and just really sad that the fight didn't work out. And she's just like, you know what? He'll be disappointed for a night or two, but he's going to be back in the gym on Monday, and he is going to be grinding hard like he always does. That's the mentality of Tiger Schulmann's.
Exactly. Like, win or lose, like, you see guys winning on Friday, and you see them training here on Monday again. Like, that's a world champion work ethic, and that's what I think that's the difference between when you have so many stars in your gym, when everybody's so good at your gym. Like, they're like, okay, you know what? You see all the Ferraris, all the Lamborghinis, all the nice cars parked outside. It's really hard when you're at that level of money that you are hungry to build legacy. That's why I admire so much Floyd Mayweather. That, man, when he was 21, he didn't have to fight for the rest of his life,
right?
But he was doing it for legacy. He wanted to be great. He wanted to be remembered as the best boxers to ever do it. So when immortality is actually your drive, that's different. But if you're just doing it for money, once you get $12,000-$20,000, you're just gonna start losing it. You're gonna start losing interest.
And every single time I talk to like you guys at Tiger Schulmann's, like there's definitely you all have like the same like personality trait in a way. Like you guys are just like all like really intense people. I don't know. I can't really describe it, but
East Coast vibe.
yeah, like check out all the interviews I've done with all the other Tiger Showman's people, viewers, and you guys tell me if I'm being crazy or not. But I think they all have like the same. I don't know. They're just wired a little bit differently. I mean that. I mean that in a good way. I do mean that in a good way. I think it's a very special gym, and the insane amount of talent at Tiger Showman's is just it blows my mind. When I found out about doing homework, prepping for podcasts, I always look at the gyms and I'm like, oh yeah, who's at this gym? And like I looked at one of the very first times I looked at Tiger Schulmann, I was like, I didn't know all these guys were there. I'm like, holy shit! Like it's just it's absolutely incredible. And I think for you to be able to get work in with guys like Shane Burgos, with guys like Solomon Renfro, with guys like Jimmy Rivera, like that's a unique advantage that most people I think don't have. And when you're able to train with guys at that caliber and day in and day out, everything else has got to seem easy in comparison.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, that's a huge benefit that most people don't have. Jacob, before I let you go, I wanted to ask, like, do you have a timetable? Like, is there anything that you're cooking up, you and your coaches, your management, whatever the case may be? Like, when do you think we could expect to see you out there for this pro debut?
I mean, we're still hopefully we're still in the card. Hopefully we're still in the card. We're trying to find a replacement because simply that fight with Eric, it's not gonna happen. But I don't know. I know by the end of the year I'm gonna be 3-0 as a pro. How is that gonna happen, or in what promotion? I don't know, but I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen this year. You will see the improvements. You will see the things that I'm bringing, and hopefully, fingers crossed. April 15th, so it's still gonna be a go. Whether if it's here, if it's Florida, if it's in Indiana, wherever it is, I'm ready.
I think you'll fight in the field somewhere. I don't think you care.
I'll find a bargain if the money is right. I'll do it.
I absolutely love that. Jacob, I want to give you the opportunity before we sign off. If you have any sponsors that you'd like to talk about, or your teammates, or whatever the case may be, I'd like for you to have the last word.
Oh, perfect. I would like to thank Celsius. I would like to thank LFG Coffee, Impact Dental Design, for always taking care of my teeth, keeping them in place. I'd like to thank Edge Pro, Face Meets Fist, with my new line of clothes, my team Tiger Schulmann's, and every single one of my training partners.
All right, fantastic. I can't wait to talk to you again. I want to see that pro debut. All of his links for Jacob's store, that's going to be in the description of this video, as well as where you can find him on Instagram. So be sure that you do that, and we will check you all next time. Peace.